The world of 2021 is ruled by coffee, and Neo-London goes crazy for it. They say that in this job only two cases matter, the one that breaks you and the one that makes you a real cop. I'm Arthur Oliver, and I'm a private investigator, but I used to be a cop here in Neo-London. I quit 10 years ago. I failed. I hoped I'd never come back here. I read about Richard Kersey's disappearance in the papers on a train journey. Coffee tycoon vanishes, the front page headline of the Neo-London Espresso screamed. For many, Kersey was a wealthy celebrity buffoon, pure envy. They lost contracts and profits to him. They even lost their reputations as he dragged competitors through the courts. And me, I lost a lot more to him. Catherine, my beloved, and his wife. 10 years ago, Richard was involved in a spot of bother. He had a debt. Unfortunately for him, it was Kath who received the demands for payment. Kersey happened to be abroad at the time, totally out of reach. She got scared and tried sorting it out herself, in cash. She asked me for help. I couldn't do it in my official capacity, but I took my gun and set up a sting. It ended tragically. A few days ago, Henry called, Richard's older brother. He sounded down, just like me.
Okay, I know all about it, Arthur. You quit the force, you're still tormented by Kath's murder. Listen, Richard's daughter doesn't have to know anything about you two, nor Richard. But I'm begging you, help me find him. I'll give you a flat to live in, some cash, and a cover story that you're a salesman. Just come, please.
So I'm in Neo-London again. The business with Catherine broke me. So maybe the case with Richard will be the one to make me a real cop again. Richard's disappearance was big news. There was speculation about mafia involvement, either Italian or Yakuza. I think there might be something in that. Little Clarabelle, Richard and Kath's daughter. The last time I saw her was at her mother's funeral. I wanted to comfort her. Now it looks like it's her who wants to comfort me. She's so like her mother. Especially her eyes. Can't forget watching the life draining out of Catherine's eyes. On the way to the hotel, Clarabelle told me her father might have been kidnapped by an angry competitor. It's a possibility. Kersey did all sorts of weird deals with even weirder people. Maybe one of them had enough of Richard's caprices. Over the phone, Clarabelle confirmed what Henry had promised. There was a flat and a position as a salesperson in their family business. That was to make investigating easier. Fair enough. Let it be. If that's what the investigation demands, I'll become the best damn salesperson in Neo-London. I'll help Clarabelle with her business. I'll find Richard. I'll find your killer, Kath. I won't let you down twice. Promise.
Dear Arthur, thank you again for agreeing to work on this case in such unusual circumstances. As I mentioned during our last meeting, Uncle Henry and I suspect that one of my father's business partners must be involved in his disappearance, or at least knows something about it. We believe it would be best to work undercover and meet them offering a delivery contract. It's also better that a private investigation will remain as a secret. Check out the instructions I've left you and look around in your office. After that, meet me at my cafe. See you soon. Clarabelle Kersey.
Hello, Miss Clarabelle. The cafe looks great. Really bright, cozy, homely.
Hello. Thanks. The decor was my father's work. He was very careful to create a friendly atmosphere. Please don't call me miss.
Sorry, it's your hairstyle. You look so young, I couldn't help myself. But fine. First names only.
Great. Let's get down to business.
I want to ask about your childhood. I know there are painful memories, but it's important for the case.
All right. I've had time to get some distance on it. How can I help?
Tell me, how you coped after your mother's death.
Well, not too well. Dad hated talking about it. He worked a lot, went away a lot. And me? I remember lying there, crying. Mr. Pensy was with me. He took my temperature, brought me cups of tea. I was alone.
Any friends? School psychologist?
I had this one friend, Amy. She came to cheer me up a couple of times, but I think I wore her out. I was incredibly shy as a child. The school psychologist sent me to a psychiatrist for medication. I was supposed to go there with an adult, but it never happened.
Why? Something changed? Something got better?
Yeah, you could say it was thanks to Mr. Van Haven.
Hold on, I'll write this down. Who was it?
Joseph Van Haven, Dad's friend from college. He and his wife Amanda offered to take care of me, together with his housekeeper. I was to sleep at my home, spend the day with them, mainly with Mrs. Fink, the housekeeper. Dad immediately agreed.
And you? Did you have any say in it?
I was a bit scared at first, but they were really nice. They were like my family. They still are.
Thanks, Clarabelle. That's a lot of help. Can you give me a contact number for Van Haven and Fink? I'd like to ask them a few questions.
Sure, here you go.
Great. Who do you think I should meet first?
Mr. Van Haven. Visit him posing as a sales rep. Sell him some coffee. He's a really nice guy and a good candidate for checking your abilities.
Investigative abilities?
Business and negotiating. Remember that you operate undercover and you must be credible. Only then will investigative skills come in handy.
Explain the basics about running a business to me. Better still, as a manager, shouldn't I have a competent deputy? Then I can concentrate on, being a boss, and the deputy makes sure we don't go under.
Last time you said you always worked solo.
Me? Are you thinking of someone else? There are lots of detectives called Oliver.
Take it easy, Arthur. No deputies. We don't have the cash for it. Start by visiting all the departments. You'll learn how to establish the scale of production, audit advertising activity, and plan expenditure, as well as team building and managing people.
Huh. So, I might find a deputy?
Of course. I'm sure you'll pick it all up faster than you imagine. A lot of our processes are automated, so you're not likely to cause any catastrophes.
You're sure good at encouragement. Okay, I'll give it a go. How do I set up a meeting with a client?
You can't just charge straight at it. First, you have to have a credible business proposition. To prepare that, you need to know what the client needs.
They always want the same. Something cheap and high quality.
More or less, but it's a little more subtle than that. Give this list of Dad's contacts to the people in the management department. They'll set up the first meetings for you and get the clients interested, so you can practice your sales pitch.
So, then I go and see them and close the deal. Is that all?
That's about the half of it. Before meeting them, you have to find out who you're dealing with, so you know how to approach them. Preparation is vital to good negotiating. By assigning specific tasks to employees, you can get interesting information about clients that will be helpful during the meeting.
I see. Is there anything in this work that isn't vital?
Sure, a gun license for start.
I'm not sure I'm a negotiator. How can I learn? Can it be learned?
Of course. Start with the handbook I gave you. The techniques in there are enough to get you your first clients. They won't be too demanding. After that, well, you know, practice makes perfect.
Did you have to say that?
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
You remember what we agreed yesterday. What do I need to know?
I reckon there's a business connection involved in my dad's disappearance. To find out who, you're going to have to get the London business community to trust you.
Pretending to be a sales rep, right?
Well, you're really going to become one. You're going to set up meetings, set up deals, and sign contracts. You'll be managing a team, planning budgets. It's the only way to be credible and get closer to the suspects. So, we need to practice sales meetings.
Can't I interrogate them the usual way? You know, put a gun to the temples, like in the old days? I don't need to practice that, you know.
Focus, Arthur.
Okay, I was only joking. So I'm a sales rep, right?
Sales manager. And no, that doesn't mean you can use a gun.
What should I know about Richard's disappearance?
Neither I nor Uncle Henry have a clue what happened to my dad. Have you looked at the materials from the last meeting? Everything I know is in there.
What if I need to advertise a product? I might get to more people that way.
Advertising campaigns are available from the marketing department. Remember to choose the right campaign type for the specific brand of coffee. A well-chosen campaign will increase brand awareness and demand for your products.
After my first meeting, I might need a campaign like that. Just a little one.
Have more faith, Arthur. We'll do some more negotiating training first.
I guess I should also be overseeing the costs and expenses. Where do I find out about that?
Finance. A detailed list of income and expenditure is in the profit and loss account.
What if there's nothing in my account and I need a loan?
You can borrow money, but only up to the company's debt limit.
Clarabelle, did you ever hear of a detective in debt?
Nope, but I've read of a few.
Seeing as I'm managing people, I'll have to assess their work and look after them. How do I learn how to do that?
Everything about HR matters can be found in metal cabinets. First of all, make sure to motivate your staff. It improves their work levels. Dissatisfied workers work badly and often leave.
Let's move on. Can I train a team like you're training me now?
Sure. In this same section, you can access lessons on improving your employees' competence.
I don't really know the London coffee market. In fact, I don't really know anything about any market. How do I work out what coffee to produce and who to sell it to? Where do I find information about current and potential clients?
in the sales section. Look into the computer. You'll find contacts to clients, what brand of coffee they buy, and whether there is an appointment arranged.
Let's say I'm feeling well prepared. What then?
Then it's time for a business meeting. Just dress up right and get to the right place on time.
One more thing. Let's say I sign a contract on poor terms. Then I become a better negotiator, and I don't like the contract anymore. Can I break it?
During the meeting, you can always opt out of signing the contract, or simply stop the conversation and leave. If after signing you do not assign employees to service the contract, the client will terminate the cooperation after some time.
How do I run my team?
It's like this. In the management board, you assign tasks to groups and how many hours per week they have to complete them. Neglecting tasks, i.e. managing production or account management, can lead to production failure or suspension of deliveries. Make sure employees are busy.
Okay, what else?
Lead acquisition and due diligence will allow you to arrange meetings and get valuable information about your clients that will be useful during a business meeting.
Okay, let's say I manage to sell something. What then?
You can also assign project management tasks. Each production upgrade or marketing campaign is treated as a project that needs to be taken care of. Staff training helps develop their competences.
That's just what I wanted to ask about. Where do I get new employees from?
The relevant forms are in the HR department. We always have a few candidates for employment waiting in the wings.
So, where do we get the coffee from?
The production department sees to that. Using the console in your office, you decide how much of a given brand to produce in a given week. You'll be starting with a single type, classic standard.
Okay, then what?
Later you can start working on other brands because different clients have different needs. It's also worth making production more efficient. It's costly and can hold up production, but it pays off in the long term. You have to keep an eye on production costs and warehouse levels.
Warehouse. Okay, I think I've got all that. I know everything now.
Yes, we have to practice contract negotiating. As it happens, I need a fresh delivery. Let's roleplay the scene where you offer me a contract. Ready?
Couldn't be readier. Let's start. I don't have a clue about drawing up contracts. What should a contract contain, and what do I need to remember?
Oh, that's simple. After the initial conversation, a standard formula contract comes up. Your job is to establish the unit price for the coffee. I'll give you a standard form to look at.
Great. You read my mind like a natural negotiator.
Please concentrate, Arthur. One more thing. Some clients always insist on delivery and insurance, others don't. Those options can always be negotiated and can earn extra income.
Extra income sounds good. I'll bear it in mind. What do I need to bear in mind during a meeting with a client?
Their personality, needs and preferences, which you looked into prior to the meeting.
Cool. You mentioned client needs.
Yes, every client states their needs for specific brands of coffee. Manage the ongoing production so that you can meet all your clients' needs.
I think I'm ready. Let's try a negotiation and point out anything I get wrong. And when I recover from that, you can give me some more tips.
Okay, let's begin negotiating.
Good morning. Is that coffee cake? That smells good enough to stop traffic.
Really? Thanks for saying so. We just finished baking it. Here it is.
Wow, it looks better than it smells. Did you make this, Miss Clarabelle Kersey, I presume? I've come to talk to you about coffee supplies.
Not bad, Arthur. A well-judged compliment can work wonders. But some clients don't like them. Now do you see why doing your research on the customer is so important?
Yes, I knew you liked baking cakes, so I could mention it, but it's only a small thing from your private life.
Precisely. Everything can be useful during negotiations.
Good morning. I've come to talk about supplying our coffee to you, but if I'm going to talk about coffee with such a lovely lady, it will have to be over a coffee.
Oh dear, Arthur. Complimenting my appearance or flirting with me really isn't a good idea in a business context. I know you meant to be nice, but someone else might take it differently. Very differently.
Okay. I got this. Good morning. I've come about your coffee supplies, namely the classic standard. We can offer competitive terms and, what was next?
No, if you start like that, there's no way you'll succeed. You have to be prepared for negotiating and know what to start the conversation with. Improvising is okay too, but it has to be snappy.
I can do snappy.
Great, show me.
Can we move on to establishing the terms of the agreement? What does a contract like this look like?
Here's a standard contract. Here, look. Good, that looks acceptable. Be prepared that the client will want to renegotiate the terms here. Assume that they're going to ask for a price lower by this percentage. How are you going to persuade me your offer is already attractive enough?
You want a lower unit cost. We can do that, but only under certain conditions.
Such as?
We can do it if you order 3 times this amount, or if you extend the period of the agreement. That's the only way it's worthwhile for us.
Those are pretty steep demands.
Perhaps it's better to consider the initial price again.
I feel a little backed up against a wall. I don't feel like you're treating me like an equal partner. The tactic can be effective, but it's risky. They might see you as being rude and you'll lose the chance of further contacts.
Let's look at the price in relation to quality. Everything about our coffee's top drawer. Taste, aroma, and certification. Coffee like that at a price like this is a real bargain.
Let's assume I will agree for such discount. Every supplier claims his or her coffee is the best. How are you going to support your claims so they don't come across like empty boasts?
Some facts and figures to prove that this discount is a sensible bargain.
There you go, Arthur. That's how you support your credibility and generate client trust. But it would be better if you actually knew some data. For a first go at negotiating, that went pretty well. Let's say I'll sign the contract, but I have one more proposal. The first month's batch for lower price. Agreed?
Last requests, eh? I like that technique too, but I'm afraid I can't do it. Let's stick to what we established.
That's a risky step. Revealing the client's tactics can work, but you have to be sure that's what they're up to. Otherwise you can upset them and lose the deal. I think that covers everything. Now it's time to put it into practice, both as a business person and a negotiator. Make sure you swat up on the materials and look at this week's tasks.
Thank you. I'm sure it will all prove helpful in this investigation and in finding your father. See you soon, Clarabelle.
Thanks, Arthur. It means a lot to me. Now it's up to you, and I think you're the last hope I've got.
I should sum up what happened after that meeting. Someone important lives here. That's what the Kersey home seemed to be saying. This is where the investigation begins. Walking in, Clarabelle hugged herself. From the cold, cute. Clarabelle only slept here, though. After her mother's death, she was taken in by Joseph Van Haven, her father's friend, who treated her like his own daughter. His wife tried. Mostly, though, she left her to the housekeeper, Mrs. Fink. Why did the Van Havens raise the Kersey kid? A friendly favor? Guilt. The servant greeted Clarabelle with a stack of unopened letters. She stuffed them into her bag and went inside. A lot to catch up, I joked. And Clarabelle explained that she no longer lives in the residence with her beloved. I asked for a family photo of the Kerseys. There was an exotic-looking guy in the midst of a sea of pale Brits. Mr. Gabriel was an artist who taught Clarabelle to draw. He looked pretty stiff, probably trying to avoid her dreamy eyes. In the living room, among many works of art, a spot after a taken-down painting drew my attention. It was a peculiar view. Clarabelle told me the painting belonged to her mother. One day, Richard simply packed it up and took it to Joseph. Did he want to sell it? Hide it? I didn't get a chance to ask. Clarabelle answered an urgent call and, apologizing, left in a hurry. I went to gather my thoughts. Catherine's death, Richard's disappearance, the unusual arrangements with the Van Havens, that picture. Clarabelle was right. A detective was needed here. But I have my own reason for this. To get Catherine's killer. All in good time. The last lead is Richard's disappearance. perhaps the best-known coffee supplier in London. I'll start by entering into his world. That means turning into a businessman. My first customer will be Richard's old friend and Clarabelle's ward, Joseph Van Haven. Clarabelle gave me his address and phone number. He's an old, experienced trader. I'd better prepare thoroughly. I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. You're hired. Welcome aboard. You're hired. Welcome aboard. So, what do I have to deal with this week? So, what's going on in this company? I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. Good morning, Mr. Van Haven. Arthur Oliver. I'd like to talk to you about our coffees. Clarabelle Kersey recommended I speak to you. She said she knows you well.
Ah, yes. Welcome. Welcome. Naturally, I was expecting you after Clary phoned. Sweet girl, isn't she?
Lovely. Actually, really lovely, considering what she's been through at such a young age. The stuff about her parents. It's true, isn't it?
Sadly, yes. A terrible, brutal thing for such a child. You see, her parents were friends of mine. After Catherine died and Richard usually been absent, my wife and I did all we can to provide a normal upbringing for her. You've seen yourself how, despite all this, Miss Kersey is doing very well.
Oh, yes, and she's a tough negotiator.
I taught her well. She could always get you to read for one more hour, go for one more walk, or give her a bigger portion. It comes in very useful as an adult, but you don't have all day to listen about the young Kersey girl. Let's take a look at what you brought with you. I can't wait to see.
Nice photo. From your student days?
Yes. Being young is wonderful when the world is your oyster.
You speak as if it's over.
What? You mean I don't look like it? You are a card, Mr. Oliver. Well, I do try to move a bit so as to not become totally desk-bound.
It shows. And the man next to you, isn't that Richard Kersey?
The very same. He was my best friend at university and since. And these are our charming wives. Actually, our fiancés then. Catherine Seeger and Amanda Okote.
You look a close bunch.
We were, then, but life writes strange scenarios. The best of friends can fall out over the silliest things, and other people are worth forgetting.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I keep the picture to remember the good times. Let's return to the here and now. Mr. Oliver, things are looking up.
Congratulations on the birth of your daughter. I hope both the mother and baby are doing well.
Ah, thank you. Both in good health, and so similar. I tell you, they look like sisters. It's amazing how a person passes on their genes and then watches as they live their own life.
It seems you're enjoying your new role.
Not at first, but it's getting better and better. Despite my super condition, I'm not as young as I was, and the little one demands so much attention, just like our business. Let's get down to it, shall we?
I heard you graduated from the London School of Economics.
Ah, good times. Young, confident, sure of yourself. It was tough at times, but what do you expect from the best academy in the country? We shared a room in the dorms with Richard. Soon after, I met Amanda, my wife. Richard's future wife introduced us. Then everything started falling into place. Obviously, only up till the Kersey's tragedy, which hit me and my wife hard. That's the past, though. There's nothing there for us now. Let's move on.
We take production very seriously, Mr. Van Haven. Our products meet ISO 35000, and the caffeine levels in our coffee are at the desirable level of 40 milligrams per 100 grams of product. On top of that, we offer innovative, personalized packaging designed to meet the customer's needs. What do you say?
Really, Mr. Oliver? You want to waste your time on all that marketing jargon? It doesn't impress me at all.
Fair enough. My mistake. I wanted to impress you with my professionalism, but I guess it came over a little stiff.
Fair enough. For me, the most important things in business are sincerity, openness, respect, and understanding. When someone fakes it, they put on a mask and the atmosphere is ruined. We're a similar age, we speak the same language, we can reach an understanding. I used to be interested in the effect of different cultures on negotiations. In Japan, there is a need for distance. Don't even dare to look someone in the eye. It's even harder with the Swedes. They're so serious. Oh, this is a good one. Do you know the difference between an introvert Finn and an extrovert one?
I really have no idea.
The first, throughout the whole conversation, looks at his shoes. The second looks at yours. It's a good one, isn't it?
Well, you can learn so much from visiting a client. But anyway, to get back to the aim of my visit, can we discuss the deal?
But of course, I was rambling, but you have to admit, it's a fascinating aspect of business. Your proposal exceeds my current capabilities. I suggest we cut the delivery charges or just lower the product cost to compensate them. The price on the contract will then be lower by this percentage. That's a sensible concession, and I really can't offer any more than that.
That's too high a price for such a new company like mine, Mr. Van Haven. The market is saturated, and that's why we want to compete on quality, not price. when you were starting out, would you have agreed to these terms?
Unfortunately, yes, I would. My first contract was a disaster, but I thought that was the way it was. It's difficult at the beginning, but don't lose heart. Solid arguments can soften the heart of even the hardest businessmen. Do you have any?
Well, definitely our quality, which we have to persuade our suppliers about. They're very distrustful. Lots of them don't even want a meat like this. That's why I'm so grateful to you for being open to try new things. I'd like to earn your trust, but not at the cost of such a price reduction.
I understand you. When I started out, someone believed in me and trusted me too. Maybe that will happen here too if you can offer me a better deal. Let's start with cutting the delivery charges. They're the easiest thing to resign from to cost the value of the contract by this much.
How about this? You take the offer as it stands now, and when the time comes to renegotiate, I'll make sure Foxy Hills gets the biggest concessions. I'm saying this because I believe our collaboration is going to develop well.
Pretty promises, Mr. Oliver, but we can't put them into the accounts. I have to look after business now, not in a month or a year. My offer is the minimum discount by which I will sign this contract.
Okay, Mr. Van Haven. I can agree to those terms.
Great! You worked me hard, but I think the prospects for collaboration look interesting. Let's sum up what we've established and sign the forms.
I should sum up what happened after that meeting. Van Haven's a good businessman. He welcomed me like an old friend and led me past the pictures. Clients were supposed to see signs of Joseph's education and worth. But me? I spotted a young, cocky Richard with my Catherine. She had no idea what she had coming. The other woman was Amanda Van Haven. It must have been through their being two young married couples at the same time that Richard and Joseph became such close buddies. Joseph watched as I examined the photos. He smiled, apparently at the memories. He'd played this scene out hundreds of times. He told the story of what a close bunch they were, until the girls fell out over a trifle. What trifle? It's not even worth mentioning, nor anyone else, he added. Was he talking about the third woman in the picture? It puzzled me. Catherine never mentioned a conflict with Joseph's wife, Amanda Van Haven. And I never asked. I was, too busy falling in love with Kat. What trifle broke their long-term friendship? I wanted to ask after the negotiations. The telephone interrupted us. The call was from George McFowle with an urgent matter. Joseph chuckled, another golden opportunity, and lifted the receiver. He pointed to his watch. It looked like it was going to be a long call. I nodded, gestured I'd give him a call, and left. It wasn't a good meeting. Van Haven kept talking right over me. On purpose? Or was he taking pity on me? Am I really that bad a salesperson? Regardless, he didn't tell me anything new about Richard's disappearance. At least he bought some coffee, though. Still, he seemed too cheerful to me as for someone whose close friend had gone missing recently. Or maybe they were friends in the past tense, just as he worded it by chance during our talk. One more thing was still troubling me. That missing painting from the Kersey's living room. Did its disappearance have anything to do with the case? And why did Richard take it to Joseph? Clarabelle might know the answers. I rang and asked her. She thought the painting was a memento from the founder of the family, Shallard Kersey, 18th century. Why did it get sent to Joseph? She didn't know. So back to Van Haven. I called, pretending to be the Kersey's lawyer. Mr. Van Haven, I've been instructed by Clarabelle Kersey to draw up an inventory of the family's works of art. He bought it, so I asked. If he still had Richard's painting, he muttered something about calling back and hung up. Why? Joseph's reaction suggested the painting was a good lead. I need to check it out discreetly. I'm curious about the other blonde in the photo. Why did the jovial Van Haven avoid mentioning her? Perhaps I'd get to ask her soon myself. Case closed for today. Time to get my head round the supplies for the new contract. I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. This won't work. No, this won't work. This is a good lead, but the information may cost me a lot. Good morning, Mrs. Fink.
Good day, Mr. Oliver.
I'm very grateful you found time to meet me today.
Well, it wasn't easy. But I also have a fish to fry here.
Excellent. Let's get down to brass tacks then.
By all means.
You've been in your boss's office on occasion, haven't you?
Of course. I go wherever I might be needed, Mr. Oliver.
No doubt. Anyway, in Joseph's...
Mr. Van Haven's?
Yes, of course. I saw the photograph from his graduation there. You know the one.
Perhaps.
There are several people in it. I recognize them all but one. Icy blonde. Mr. Van Haven didn't want to speak about her. Why?
I'm not surprised. It's Britt Damoltfist. I have nothing to say about that woman.
So you know her then?
Only from the photo, like you. That's all.
How long have you worked for the Van Havens?
I do not work for them, Mr. Oliver. I run the house.
Okay. I like my work too. How long have you assisted the Van Havens?
In 1 month, it will be 19 years.
Wow. Impressive.
Not really. I simply do what is required of me.
Reliably and discreetly?
Just so.
And yet you agreed to meet me and divulge the family secrets. Why?
I have my reasons. And any secrets I might tell you. They pose no threat to the Van Havens.
You looked after the Kersey's daughter, didn't you?
I did. I don't have children, but I stood in for her mother as best I could.
I'm sure you did. Clarabelle impressed me a great deal.
I'm pleased to hear it. She's a good girl, if a little scatterbrained.
You can understand, losing mother at such a young age.
You too. People are too gentle with her. Miss Kersey was raised in conditions that many children could only dream of.
So she wanted for nothing?
Nothing at all.
I know Richard Kersey and Mr. Van Haven were friends.
Pfft. Maybe they were once.
But their wives? Did Catherine Kersey and Amanda Van Haven get on well?
Them? I think they tried to maintain a level of decorum, in spite of everything.
Was there any conflict between them?
Nothing they ever mentioned. But before Kersey disappeared, there was that strange incident with the picture.
Picture?
Oh, forgive me. I was miles away. I worry an awful lot about how terribly expensive everything is getting. This damn government should be run out of office. Don't you agree?
Financially, I don't think you should have anything to worry about.
Very well. Shortly after his wife's death, Kersey brought Mr. Van Haven a picture. It was purportedly a family heirloom. Priceless.
Interesting. What happened?
Kersey was afraid of something. He asked for the painting to be looked after. Mr. Van Haven agreed at first. But then, you know how it is.
No. How is it?
Just think about it. Her husband never liked art. Then all of a sudden there's an enormous painting hanging in the living room. He suddenly got interested in interior design. You understand? Mrs. Van Haven is a smart woman. She was suspicious from the get-go.
I presume Mr. Haven didn't stand a chance.
Men never do, Mr. Oliver. He admitted he was only looking after the painting as a favour to Kersey. And when he mentioned what it was worth, and that it belonged to Catherine...
Poor guy.
Well, Mrs. Van Haven was furious. You could see that such an ostentatious reminder of a dead woman upset her. She ordered her husband to get rid of it immediately. Immediately!
So what became of the painting?
First, Mr. Van Haven tried to return it, but Kersey wouldn't hear of it. He said that, after Catherine's death, he couldn't have the painting in the house.
But Mr. Van Haven had to listen to his wife, didn't he?
He did, and the painting disappeared. I don't know what became of it.
Mrs. Fink, you're priceless.
It would be rude to deny.
Mrs. Fink, is there anything else you want to tell me about? A clue or a piece of evidence that might help crack the Kersey case?
There is something, but the information will cost you.
I'm ready for that.
That photo you saw in Mr. Van Haven's office. Or rather, its print.
Go on.
This is it. Do you know whose face has been scraped off it?
Wait. That's Catherine Kersey, isn't it? Signed Viper?
Precisely.
Where did you get it?
From Mrs. Van Haven's personal album. She thinks she lost it, but won't ask the staff, of course. Keeping a photo like that would be a little strange, to say the least.
You mentioned it might cost me. How much for the photo?
That's why I met you. I want this much for it.
That's fine by me, Mrs. Fink. That's a fair price. And if it leads me to Kersey, it will even be a noble act.
Do you have any idea how much I paid at the hairdresser's last time? I've had the same style for 20 years, and they tried to rip me off like some naive tourist.
That's scandalous, Mrs. Fink. Allow me to cover the costs of your next visit.
And the colouring? I can't look like I was getting old now.
Of course, the coloring too. Will that do it?
It'll have to. I'm not a beggar, Mr. Oliver.
It never crossed my mind, Mrs. Fink.
Good luck, Mr. Oliver. That is all I have for you. Farewell.
I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. That's it. Some great deduction skills, Oliver. No. This one. I think that's all I've got for now. Let's see if there are any connections. This is a good lead, but the information may cost me a lot. So, what's going on in this company? Someone place an order. The deal isn't great, but it's a chance for some extra cash. think that's all I've got. Let's see if there are any connections. Now, this one. Now, this one. This one. This is a good lead, but the information may cause... Hello, Mr. Pensy. Thank you for agreeing to meet and to discuss such sensitive matters for you.
Good day, Mr. Oliver. What matters are you speaking of?
The deaths of Catherine and Richard's disappearance.
Ah.
Yes, I have a few questions for you.
Naturally. I would ask only that this conversation stayed between you and I. How can I help you?
You've known Clarabelle since she was a child, haven't you?
That's right.
Why
She was never my responsibility, Mr. Oliver. I looked after the house. Care of the child was the responsibility of the Van Havens.
Yes, Clarabelle mentioned it. How did that come about?
It was Van Haven's idea. After her mother's death, Clarabelle needed a female hand. The Van Havens' housekeeper seemed an ideal choice. And Mr. Richard wasn't around, so the assistance of Mrs. Fink seemed appropriate. He agreed, and since then, the little lady merely slept here.
I see. You said that Richard wasn't around?
Yes. Mr. Richard spent most of the year abroad. He had to oversee the family plantations. Even while his wife was alive, he was at home maybe 3 months a year.
And after her death, his daughter wasn't enough to keep him around? One thing puzzles me. Why didn't he take his daughter with him?
To that jungle? A 10-year-old?
Okay. Sorry I asked.
We did the right thing, Mr. Oliver, entrusting her to the Van Havens. I adore the little lady, but I wasn't the right person to bring her up. Mrs. Fink brought her up well and gave her some love, I hope.
I see. And after Clarabelle moved out, did you keep in touch?
Of course. She can always count on me.
So, you get on well?
Yes, and it will be even better when Mr. Richard returns.
Will he return?
I'm sure of it. Is there anything more I can do for you?
Mrs. Fink mentioned that after Catherine's death, Richard gave Joseph a picture to look after. Apparently, it stirred up a heap of trouble.
That old tart. She spoke to you. That's how she treats professional secrecy.
You know the story?
The picture? I do. There was a bit of a fuss.
Good. Tell me all about it.
What do you want to know?
How large is the picture?
Quite large. About a square meter or so. It was intended to attract attention, and it did an excellent job.
I see. What is it of?
The Kersey's first coffee plantation, the one in Guyana, from where the family's fortune derives, or at least what's left of it when Mr. Richard returns.
Aha, so the picture shows a coffee harvest.
Yes, I suppose so.
Is there anything else I should know about the picture? Anything special about it?
I told you it was a triptych, didn't I?
No. What's that?
A painting on 3 canvases. The central piece is the largest and presents, as it were, the heart of the picture. The smaller canvases supplement it. They apparently place the center image in more context, give it depth. All I cared about was that it wasn't dusty.
That's very interesting. Mrs. Fink said nothing about it being in 3 parts.
When the Van Havens got it, it wasn't. At the beginning of the last century, Mr. Richard's grandfather gave the side canvases to the British Museum. Only the centerpiece remained with the family.
How did Richard come by it?
Lionel Kersey, Mr. Richard's father, gave it to Miss Catherine as a wedding present.
Wouldn't he have inherited it anyway after his father's death?
I suppose so. But maybe, perhaps Mr. Lionel also wanted rid of it for some reason.
You think so?
No, but you have to admit it's a possibility.
I'm all ears, Mr. Pensy. What is this information?
Someone else may be looking for the picture, Mr. Oliver. It is important to me that Mr. Richard doesn't lose his family heirloom.
And so that's why he wanted to store it at the Van Havens, to protect it from theft.
So I suspect.
I see. Who else wants it?
The person in question is most likely George MacPhail. He asked me once if I knew anything about the story connected with the painting. He's an acquaintance of Mr. Richard since way back when. He's an interesting type, if I can describe him so.
Why would he be looking for it? Selling a well-known picture like that means you're almost sure to get caught.
Sell it? No, not at all. You see, this is no ordinary picture.
What do you mean?
Mr. Richard appreciates fine alcohol, if you get my drift. Mr. MacPhail too. One evening, they appreciated some whiskey so enthusiastically they woke me up. I went to ask if everything was all right, and it was then when I heard Mr. Richard say, apparently the picture holds a secret.
So the picture may be more than just a keepsake. That's a puzzle.
We do not need to solve it, Mr. Oliver. Please, just get the picture back. When Mr. Richard returns, I want him to see I've looked after the family's interests.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pensy.
Thank you for your understanding, Mr. Oliver.
I need to check the investigation board. Now I need to set the new clues and data on the board. So, what do I have to deal with this week?